Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Michelle Gatewood. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at Contact Careline, and this is the Contact Listens podcast, Tools for Tough Moments. With me today is
I'm Azita Michelle. I'm the Clinical Programs Director here at Contact. And today we're going to talk about how to know if somebody in your life might need help, how to support them the best you can, and we'll give you some resources at the end for some local crisis support.
Yes, we are so excited to talk about this with you today because I think when Azita and I are out in the community, we most often get questions about people wanting to know how they can help someone who's going through a hard time. And the first thing that we're asked is, how do I even know if somebody really needs help? I think a lot of times we don't trust ourselves, right? When we know someone that is struggling, and we might second guess ourselves, and we want to really help you to know that you're on the right track with knowing that that person needs support. So what you want to be looking for is changes in behavior or mood. If someone is acting noticeably different than their usual self, and that difference, I think, is the key. Maybe they are more withdrawn, maybe they're more irritable, they're unusually quiet, or suddenly it seems like they're overwhelmed with pretty much anything that's going on with their life. That shift can really be that signal that they're going through something internally. And it really is the change, not necessarily the behavior, that's what matters. So if someone is typically pretty quiet, that's not something that we really need to worry about too much. It's that something is different in the way that this person is acting, and you're going to notice that. You are not looking for red flags, of course, all over your life. That would be exhausting. What you're noticing is when something feels off. I hope that makes sense. What you also might see is kind of this pulling away from people or activities. When someone stops showing up, they are skipping plans. They might not be returning texts. They are disengaging from their work, their hobbies, maybe their crafts or the different community organizations that they're in. Maybe you don't see them at church as much anymore. It can be that quiet sign that they're struggling, even if they say they're fine.
Another thing that you might notice are big reactions to small things.
Yeah.
Big emotions when you might not expect them, or especially if they're different for the person that you're concerned about. Things might be crying easily, snapping over minor issues, seeming emotionally flat or numb. All of those can be signs that somebody's emotional capacity is stretched thin. So when someone's bucket is already full of stress or of emotion, it doesn't take too much to make that bucket spill over.
Yeah, that's really true.
Another thing you might notice are expressions of hopelessness or somebody feeling like a burden. So you might hear someone say, "What's the point?" Or, "I just don't want to bother anybody," or, "Everyone would be better off without me." And sometimes those statements are brushed off as dramatic or attention seeking, but those are statements that point to a deep, real pain and the need for connection. So, not attention seeking, but connection seeking. And just by listening to this podcast, you're kind of showing that you care enough to help make that connection with that person. And ultimately, if you're wondering whether somebody might need support, that's often enough reason to reach out.
Absolutely. I think with what we're talking about here, when it comes down to it, trust your gut. Sometimes you can't name even a specific sign or anything that we've already talked about that you might be looking out for. You just feel concerned. There's alarm bells kind of going off in your head or in your heart, and you just know something's off. That intuition that you're feeling, trust it. It does. It really matters. And you probably are not overreacting to that gut feeling that you're having. Caring enough about somebody to check in on them is really what might make all the difference. Azita and I have worked in crisis services for a really long time, and I think anytime we've talked to people, one of the things that stands out most often is that somebody maybe reached out to them, checked on them, shared their concern, and that is what maybe prompted them to reach out and get more support. So that kind-hearted moment and that extension of your caring can really make a huge impact on what happens next for that particular person.
You'll never regret checking on somebody, even if it turns out they're okay. They're not in crisis, they're not emotionally overwhelmed. They're going to be happy that you checked on them, and you're going to be happy with that too.
Absolutely. And I think you bring up a good point because when we are worried about someone, that causes just stress for us too. And so you are just as important as the person that you're worried about. So easing your distress matters too. If you're having those feelings or those worries, yeah, you could possibly make a great impact on themselves. And even if you find out they're fine, now you've eased your fears and you can move forward too and know that that person's okay. I love that. Thanks so much. We've talked about what to look for or what you might notice. Let's now talk about what you can do next. So, how do you let that person know that you care about them and show your support? When someone is going through a hard moment, how we show up can matter just as much as what we say. One of the most powerful things and ways to support someone is through non judgmental, active listening and engagement. Now, those are some pretty big words and they might sound clinical. So, we're going to boil it down into easy pieces, things that you understand and can go ahead and bring into your repertoire of tools when you are trying to support someone.
Yes, so I'm going to share some quick and easy basics for active listening that you can start using today. So the first one, listen to understand, not to fix. You don't need to have the perfect advice or a solution. You don't need to help brainstorm necessarily. Being fully present and just listening to what's being said really helps. It helps them to feel less alone. It helps them to feel like somebody cares enough just to listen. Another one is to stay curious and open and set aside judgments and assumptions and just allow them to share the experience in their own words. Don't assume that I already know what they're feeling because I've been in a similar situation, or I know them. I can pretty much guess how they would feel in that situation. Put those aside, just listen. A way you can show that you're doing that is by naming the emotions that you're hearing or summarizing what they've said. And that shows that you're listening, you're here, and helps them to know that you're understanding. So that might look like you're really hurting, or this situation is so stressful for you. Simple, little things. You don't have to form a complicated response to summarize or paraphrase. You're really hurting. That's it.
Yeah.
You can use presence over pressure. So just simple affirmations or complete silence looking can be deeply supportive. And is very powerful. The more that you say, the less space there is for the person that you're supporting. So just being able to show that presence. I'm here. Yeah.
100%. I think that's a really great point. The more space we can make for them, the more likely they'll be able to fill that with whatever's going on. And we're going to learn about a lot about what's going on for sure. So, yeah. So all of those are wonderful points. I think that you make, Azita, and I'm sure you've experienced this as I have. Is people really need some phrases. You gave some great ones there with that, or I hear this is really hard for you, and so let's give you just some tips, tricks, and some tools that you can actually use some phrases here going forward. It's important to know that there are things that you say that can get across that you are a person that wants to help them and you are there for support. And that there are things that even though well-intentioned might actually shut down that communication and might not land like you want them to. You want to say things like, That sounds really, really hard. I'm glad that you told me. When you express gratitude for their vulnerability, it really kind of helps them to de-stress a bit and to feel like you're that safe place where they can share and unpack all that stuff maybe that they're holding inside. It makes sense you'd feel that way. That is so powerful when people see that not only do they feel like this is justifiable, but when somebody else tells them, yeah, the way that you're feeling makes sense, that can absolutely be something that's going to help them to then be able to say, yes, I know what's happening for me and I want to move forward. And they're going to know that you see that too. Now they've got a partner in that problem. They don't feel like they're quite so alone. Something simple. If you're stuck and you have no clue what to say, I'm here with you. Not necessarily I'm here for you. I'm here with you. Once again, sitting beside someone in their pain is one of the most powerful things that you can do. You don't have to say much. And so, if at any point you get stuck, I'm here with you is a great thing to say. And then asking them curious questions, something like, do you want to share more about that? You are not pressuring them, as Azita said earlier, but you're creating that space where they can open up and talk more about what's happening for them. Often people will give you a little bit, kind of see if you're comfortable with what it is they're talking about. And if you continue to ask those questions that are curious and show that, yeah, I'm here with you, I want to know more, you're going to see that they're going to open up and feel a lot better. You'll see it in their body language too as they're talking to you. Now, we know that good hearts are well intentioned, and there are things that we might say that are not going to make the point that we really are a person that they can reach out to for support. So you may have heard that kind of buzzword of toxic positivity. And so what that looks like are phrases like, at least it's not worse. Everything happens for a reason. You should just stay positive. Those things can actually diminish what the person is feeling. It's going to make them feel like you don't really want to hear what's going on. You just want to kind of tap down their pain and move along. And so that could be really, really important. You might hear people say things like, you have so much to live for. And so, although that might be true, what that person needs in the moment is somebody that's going to listen to all of the crap that they've got going on. That's what's going to be the most important thing. So watch out for those things that might be overly positive when you're trying to help someone. You might say something like, I know exactly how you feel. Now, that might be true. You may have had a similar situation. Everybody's situation is different, though. And so, even if we're going through the exact same situation, internally, it might be quite different for that person than for you. And we want to make sure that we are avoiding things that turn the conversation back around on us, right? This is about them. So it's really important to say more, something like, can you tell me more about how you feel? That would be really helpful to keep that centered on them. And then these conversations can be uncomfortable. A lot of times we feel like we're just not equipped to have them. And so we might find ourselves rushing to give advice or solutions. Not to say that there won't be a point in the conversation where that's helpful, but if we do that before somebody feels heard, it's probably going to shut them down and they're not going to open up to you because what they're going to say is, this person just wants to give me a quick fix and have me move along. So when you feel the need to give that solution or advice, just go ahead and hold that back for a little bit until you get to the point with that person where they're ready to talk about those next steps. At the end of the day, when people feel accepted and understood without judgment or without pressure from the people around them, they are more likely to open up. They are more likely to feel connected and be able to regulate their emotions. And they're more likely to move towards those support pieces that might work for them. And Azita has got some great support pieces that I think you all will really like. Do you want to talk about the resources you have for our listeners here today?
I would love to. This is one of my favorite topics. There are so many resources available in Tennessee and especially in East Tennessee, which can really, really help someone in a crisis that a lot of people don't know about. So, the first one I want to talk about is called the EmPATH Unit. That is a 24/7 walk in center for adults 18 and older who are experiencing a behavioral health crisis. It provides immediate access to psychiatric care in a compassionate and trauma-informed environment. So unlike traditional facilities where people are by themselves or with one other person in a hospital-like room, at the EmPATH unit, patients and staff are together in a comfortable room with recliners, they have board games, and they can interact with each other and with the staff so that they're receiving prompt support and they have that communal feeling. Because again, often what people need in these moments is connection. And this is a place where they can get
Yeah.
that. And it reduces that stigma of, okay, I'm in this facility locked away. No, I'm in a room with people who are going through the same thing as me. And the people who are there to support are right there in the room with you.
That's amazing.
It really is. It's kind of a new thing. It's only been around for a few years. The one here in Knoxville is the first one in Tennessee, and it opened just a year and a half ago. So when I heard that we were getting an empath unit, I literally jumped up and down. So please, please go to this if you are in crisis. If you know someone in crisis, refer them, take them there. I cannot sing the praises of the empath unit enough. Another one, Mobile Crisis. This is a free service. Mobile Crisis is available 24/7, 365. It's a response team for people who are in a mental health emergency. Mobile Crisis provides face-to-face or telehealth assessment, stabilization of symptoms, and they can refer you to additional treatment services. And next month's episode actually is going to be all about mobile crisis. So, a little teaser for you. I hope that you will join us for that as well, because there's going to be so much to learn. Another wonderful resource in East Tennessee is the Family Walk-In Center. This is open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week for youth and their families to come in. They can receive prompt evaluation, medication, and outpatient therapy, as well as comprehensive children and family case management. And you can do this with no insurance. It's a very, very cool resource. They can set you up with additional services after I think it's an 8-week program for the Family Walk-In Center. Excellent resource that not too many people know about. And finally, 988 and Contact Careline. Anyone in the US can call or text 988 or go online to chat at 988lifeline.org for free, confidential, professional support in a crisis. And Contact Careline is the primary 988 service provider in Tennessee. So contact info for each of these resources and more will be found in the description of this episode and on our website, contactlistens.org.
Absolutely. Yes. So thanks for so much for being with us today. We really do appreciate having some time with you. We hope that you feel more confident about supporting someone you know that might be struggling. Please check out our website, as Azita said, contactlistens.org, to learn more about what we do in the community and for the nation as a whole. We even have a great newsletter and more tools for tough moments for you. So please check us out. Thanks so much for being here with us today. We so appreciate your kind heart wanting to support those around you. You are deserving of support as well. So make sure you take a little bit of time today for your own self-care and be well. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks all.